Well, there's a very odd abortion story that has been making the rounds. This abortion story is a story about Chrissy Teigen. So you remember that Chrissy Teigen, she had what she called a miscarriage, and it was a major story at the time. She put up an Instagram post in which she talked about the difficulties of miscarriage, and a lot of people, right and left, were very sympathetic, of course, to Chrissy Teigen, because who wouldn't be? When somebody suffers a miscarriage, particularly a late-term miscarriage, that is extraordinarily tragic. I mean, a huge number of women suffer from miscarriage. I have friends like Meghan McCain who suffered a miscarriage, and she's talked about it. I think it's a very good thing that women have talked about this sort of stuff. Well, now what's happened is that because everything must inevitably become political, and because you get political credit for being political, Chrissy Teigen is now retconning that story into a story about abortion. So I'm just going to read you from WebMD, the original story about Chrissy Teigen. She released a video of herself crying in the hospital. It was on Instagram, and it said, quote, "We are shocked and in the kind of deep pain you only hear about, the kind of pain we've never felt before. We were never able to stop the bleeding and give our baby the fluids he needed despite bags and bags of blood transfusions. It just wasn't enough. We never decide on our baby's names until the last possible moment after they're born, just before we leave the hospital, but we for some reason had started to call this little guy in my belly Jack. So he will be always Jack to us. Jack worked so hard to be part of our little family, and he will be forever. To our Jack, I'm so sorry the first moments of your life were met with so many complications that we couldn't give you the home you needed to survive. We will always love you. Thank you to everyone who's been sending us positive energy, thoughts, and prayers. We feel all of your love and truly appreciate you." So that is, obviously a miscarriage story. That's a person who I guess had to be brought to point of birth. I mean, that's what it sounds like from the story. And then the baby didn't make it. Teigen says she was 20 weeks pregnant when she was told the baby wouldn't make it. She'd previously been diagnosed with a partial placenta abruption. She hoped it would heal while she was on bed rest. A placental abruption, according to WebMD, occurs when the placenta separates from the inner wall of the uterus before birth. It can cause the baby to be cut off from oxygen and nutrients and may cause heavy bleeding in the mother. After more than a month of taking it easy, Teigen knew something was wrong. She says she started to bleed more and more and had a suspicious ultrasound. After a couple of nights at the hospital, my doctor told me exactly what I knew was coming. It was time to say goodbye. He just wouldn't survive this, and if it went on any longer, I might not either. And she said that this is a miscarriage, right? And everybody was very sympathetic to this, because if you have a case where the baby is not surviving and it's going to kill the mother and then you miscarry, I mean, that's a terrible story. Now she has decided that this is a story of abortion. And now, I'm not aware of any state in America where the continued carrying of a baby to point of birth, endangering the life of the mother, is illegal, where the abortion of such a baby would be illegal. Endangering the life of a mother is an exception in literally every state in America. That's an exception all the way across the board. And yet now, Chrissy Teigen, because again, the math has changed and we all have to be abortion heroes, she has decided that a universally sympathetic story about suffering a very late-term miscarriage is actually a story about the power of abortion. Speaking at the social impact agency Proper Daily's, quote, "A day of unreasonable conversation," the model and cookbook author said the revelation the medical procedure was in fact an abortion came as a shock to her. She said, quote, "2 years ago, when I was pregnant with Jack, John, and my third child, I had to make a lot of difficult and heartbreaking decisions. It became very clear around halfway through he would not survive, and I wouldn't either without any medical intervention." She said, "Let's call it what it was. It was an abortion to save my life for a baby that had absolutely no chance. To be honest, I never ever put that together until actually a few months ago." Well, that's because it wasn't technically an abortion in any sense that we would speak about an abortion politically. I mean, the attempt to retcon this into an area of political controversy is an attempt to, again, wrongfoot people who are pro-life on an issue where they don't disagree. Again, if the baby being carried forward would have endangered Chrissy Teigen's life, I'm not aware that there's anybody who is in favor of her having to endanger her life in order to bear the child. We'll get to more on this in just 1 second. First, how did you choose which internet service provider to use? The sad thing is, they probably didn't have much choice because ISPs operate like monopolies in the regions they serve. Then they use that monopoly power to take advantage of customers. Worst of all, many ISPs log your internet activity and sell that data on to the other big tech companies or advertisers. Well, to prevent my ISP from seeing my internet activity, I protect all my devices with ExpressVPN. So what is ExpressVPN? Good question. It's a simple app for your computer or smartphone. It encrypts all your network data, tunnels it through a secure VPN server so your ISP can't see any of your activity. Just think about how much of your life is on the internet. Sadly, every site you visit, video you watch, message you send gets tracked by ISPs or other tech giants who can then sell your information for profit. That's the reason I recommend ExpressVPN as the best way to hide your online activity from your ISP. And ExpressVPN is super easy to use. All you do, you open up your phone, you open up that ExpressVPN app. As you see right now, it says it is not connected, which means sad face emoji. But now I hit one button, it's connected. That means I'm protected. And ExpressVPN does all of that without slowing your connection. That's why it's rated the #1 VPN service by TechRadar, The Verge, and countless others. Stop handing over your personal data to ISPs and the other tech giants who mine that activity and sell off your info. Protect yourself with the VPN I trust to keep myself private online. Visit expressvpn.com/Ben Shapiro Show. Get 3 extra months for free. Teigen said she came to that realization after the court overturned Roe versus Wade earlier this summer. So until then, she was like, oh, it's just a universally sympathetic abortion, a miscarriage. Now it's a politically hot topic abortion that I can talk about. She said, I felt silent, feeling weird that I hadn't made sense of it that way. I told the world we had a miscarriage. The world agreed we had a miscarriage. All the headlines said it was a miscarriage. I became really frustrated. I didn't, in the first place, say what it was. I felt silly. It had taken me over a year to actually understand what we had was an abortion. But you weren't provided with the choice to abort the child or not abort the child. You were told by the doctor it would kill you if you did not actually move forward with the D&C, presumably, and the birth. It sounds like she actually birthed the child, and then they couldn't give the baby enough blood transfusions to keep it alive. So that is a miscarriage. That is not an abortion. But again, the talk that she was doing was called "We Made That Choice," which demonstrates the incentive structure on the left. An abortion is a tragedy we all sympathize with. A miscarriage is a tragedy that we all sympathize with. But that's not what the left wants from people. The left does not want tragedies we all sympathize with, nor does the left actually want to acknowledge the fact that an abortion is extraordinarily painful for women. An abortion is a joyful choice made by women. And so the attempt to sort of reverse history and retcon this thing into an abortion story where Republicans would have been pounding on the door saying, you need to keep that baby alive so that you die, like that. That's so obviously political. And honestly, I feel bad for Chrissy Teigen that she's been sucked into that incentive structure. Honestly, I don't think that Chrissy Teigen is a particularly likable human being. She spends, it seems, an outsized amount of time online, sort of reviewing in her head that time that I that time that I read the lyrics of WAP on the air as a joke. But all that aside, I do feel bad for her as a person. First of all, for what she suffered when she had what is a miscarriage, and second of all, that she now feels the necessity to make herself an abortion hero by changing the story. That's what the left wants of her, and that's what she will do, which is why you have a piece in the Washington Post today titled, Chrissy Teigen has shown what abortion is. Some refuse to accept it, by Kate Cohen. According to Kate Cohen, I don't know what happened in that hospital room, but I do know something is wrong with our collective understanding of the word abortion if a grown woman failed to grasp until long afterward she had had one. An abortion is the deliberate termination of a human pregnancy. Unless you believe a pregnancy should never be deliberately ended, and few people do, abortion should be treated as what it is, a medical procedure. Okay, so this is what they're going to do. Now they're going to conflate a situation in which nearly everyone agrees that the procedure Chrissy Teigen, and I say nearly everyone, I mean really everyone, agrees that the procedure Chrissy Teigen had should be legal, including red states. And we are going to pretend that that's the exact same thing as a woman coming in 20 weeks pregnant, perfectly healthy baby, no threat to life, kill the baby. We're going to pretend those are exactly the same thing. According to Kate Cohen, because we hear so often that abortions are acts of thoughtlessness, selfishness, or cruelty, people find it hard to acknowledge that abortion may be a medical necessity or call tragedies such as Teigen's by the correct name. If those choosing abortion wish desperately they didn't have to, if they grieve for their lost baby, people seem to think it couldn't be an abortion. Well, but no, it can be an abortion. The grieving is one of the points that many people on the right make. Pro-life people say that, when you grieve for the baby, when you do the emotional damage to yourself as a mother, that you do when you treat abortion as a nothing, that is a moral mistake. But again, conflation is what the left has to do. It's the reason why they keep picking edge cases. They keep picking cases in which the abortion is extraordinarily sympathetic, and cases in which many people who are pro-life would probably greenlight the abortion. Right? They'll pick a 12-year-old getting pregnant, and then does she getting raped and getting pregnant? Does she have to have the baby? And people on the pro-life side will say, well, I'm not aware that 12-year-olds are capable of bearing a child to term without endangering their life. And they'll say, see, you're okay with that. That means that you should be okay with a 20-year-old woman who gets pregnant because she had a one-night stand boarding the baby at 7 months. Like, no, those are not the same thing at all. But this is the goal of the left. The goal of the left is to always pick edge cases, sympathetic edge cases, and then pretend this applies to the vast majority of abortions, which, of course, statistically, it does not. We're in a battle for the culture and for our values. Like and subscribe to help keep our videos on the front line of the fight and top of your feed.